and this is the Age Group Multisport Podcast with me, Richard Conway. This is a platform for age group multisport athletes to showcase their journeys. Welcome back to the Age Group Multisport Podcast, and we're on episode 67, and on this episode we're speaking to a guy who got in touch by the name of Brian Stokes. I think, as I said in the conversation, it was probably one of the quickest turnaround podcasts that we've ever done. Brian was at a loose end. He messaged me and then he sent some email details, and we literally within a day we'd set up a time and got the podcast recorded, so that was pretty cool. And what a fascinating background story he's got. Talk about a career in the forces. After leaving school at 17, he went into the Royal Marine Commandos, and he's been in one service or another ever since. That was include the fire service and the police, and now he's back in the armed forces. Incredible. And in all of that, he's represented GB in the Bobsleigh and been a semi-pro rugby player. And that was before he even got into all kinds of different types of multi-sport events. So really fascinating. I hope you enjoy Brian's story. Top fella. And really get stuck into his training by the sounds of it. And I'm sure he's going to be a force to be reckoned with when he starts off this season. So yeah, that's coming. As you know, if you're a regular listener, we don't really have a lot of advertising on this podcast, but we do try and help various people out when they get in touch. For example, Jamie, who was on the podcast as a guest, got a role with Presca Sportswear, and we did try and help Jamie out by advertising a little bit for that company. So with that in mind, an events company called the Try Guy Events, who are a new organisation on the block attempting to refresh the multisport scene in the UK. And it's run by two ex-elites, Oscar de Schinkel and Anthony Hayes. And they're hoping to bring a better quality and more value for money to their events that they're putting on. And the first one is a duathlon, and it's at Eton Dorney Lake on the 11th of March. And I was thinking that would be a good warm-up for anybody going over to Venice to have a go at. So if you're interested in that, get yourself signed up. And you can do that by checking them out on the tryguysevents.co.uk or visit their Instagram account, which is the tryguys_coaching, because they do coaching also. So yeah, it might be a good race to start the season off and get warmed up for, especially if you're doing Venice in March. I think it's the week before. So yeah, anyway, check them out, see what you think. Good luck, guys. I hope it all goes well. And they've given us 15% off for all our listeners. Just use AMP15 at the checkout, and you'll get 15% off your race entry. Congratulations to Donald Brooks, first race of the year, and it was a duathlon at Mollyra Park, and he came out as the overall winner, not just his age group, but overall winner. So great start to, I'm sure, is going to be another fantastic year for Donald. And he was also on another podcast, which was the Team Oxygen Addict podcast, and they had Donald on. So I haven't listened to that one yet, but he's making the round, shall we say, and quite deserved. More congratulations to Gustav Eden, Flora Duffy and Nicola Spirrig. They all got the awards for Best Male, Best Female and Lifetime Award by the WTS at the inaugural Global Triathlon Awards. I didn't see them myself, but well deserved, I think, for all those three guys. Nice to see that there's an award now at the end of the season for the pros, just to recognise all the efforts that they've done. So yeah, well done WTS. A nice touch. Something else that popped up on social media over the last couple of weeks was the ambassador programme from British Triathlon. And basically what British Triathlon have set out to do using all their sponsors is to raise the profile of the age group scene. So it looks like over the season, these age group ambassadors will be sharing the journey to raise the awareness and the profile of the age group team, which is all very commendable. And well done to British Tri for putting this together, and congratulations to the guys who've actually got onto the programme. However, one thing that stuck out to me when I saw all the multimedia on Instagram and Facebook was that it wasn't really a true representation of age group. The guys, none of them above 45, I believe. And if you think about age group, the age group ranges between 18 and over 80 and beyond. So to just have that narrow margin is just, it's a shame really. And especially when they've just appointed a new head of diversity. I'm sure she didn't have anything to do with this. It was probably all done and dusted before she even got into a role. But it's just so obvious that they haven't gone down the route of giving a true representation of what age group's all about. No, I'm not sure what the criteria was for British Triathlon to pick this range of athletes in the age groups that they are. Looking at the representation of next year's athletes in some of the events, you can actually see that between the ages of 45 to 69, that is the biggest uptake of participants. So maybe they're targeting the younger generation to get more participants in. Who knows? I just think it's a shame that they haven't looked at the bigger picture and pulled even maybe one from every age group or one from every other age group, and give a true representation of what's possible and what is actually happening in our sport. So especially after they've just employed a new head of equality and inclusion, Annie Martin, to improve the lack of diversity in our sport. So, but good luck to those who have been chosen. We've had two of our guests, Megan Powell and Annie Christodoulou, who has made a couple of appearances, which ironically on his last appearance said he wasn't doing triathlon anymore. So big turnaround for Yanni. But yeah, good luck guys, hope you enjoy it, and I hope you do the role proud, and British Tri will roll it out again next year and have a bit more diversity in the age group. Been watching a little bit of cycling now that's back on. The road race season started. Tour Down Under's come and gone. So that really tells us that the road race season is in fact off and running. So yeah, looking forward to this season with all the different changes in kit and personnel going to various different teams. Quite exciting. A couple of podcasts that I was listening to over the last couple of weeks, and the first one is presented by an ex-Australian pro triathlete called Jack Kelly, and it's called How They Train podcast. And the one I listened to, which caught my eye, was featuring Alistair Brownlee, and it was a fascinating in-depth interview where Alistair went into detail about what training that he did during his career as a short distance athlete, and he really did go like into day-to-day detail. And they talked about the Olympics and the success and the type of racing that Alistair used to race in short course, his aggressive style. And then they went on to the here and now and what Alistair was getting up to in 2023. And again, Jack actually asked him to break down his weekly training regime now for longer distance, 70.3 and Ironman. So it was quite a really fascinating insight to what Alistair's getting up to these days and what his goals are. So if you want to give that one a listen, it's called the How They Train podcast. And he's got over 80 episodes on there with various professionals and top people in triathlon. So give it a listen. You won't be disappointed. And then another podcast that I was drawn to is the Time Trial Cycling podcast. And pretty much I was drawn to it because it had one of our previous guests on, Dr. Bryce Dyer, who was on our podcast, episode 63, if you want to check it out. And basically he was talking about not focusing on buying yourself out of aerodynamic problems. And he just said, in all of his experience in wind tunnels and things, the biggest thing that's the penalty is head movement, because that affects the drag probably the most amongst everything else. So yeah, interesting podcast. If you're into your technical bike subjects and topics, give that a listen. Really good. Finally got back into the pool last week, and unfortunately for me it was a forced reappearance in the leisure centre due to injury. Yeah, got another injury. I was doing some hill repeats a week last Tuesday and got to the top of the hill, and I think the physio reckons I've hyperextended my left leg and my knee is clicking every time I walk, and it was quite painful at the time. Fortunately the pain's eased off quite a bit, but I haven't run for a fortnight now, so that's a bit unfortunate. But every cloud, I'm back in the pool. I'm going to try and get some consistency back with my swimming while I can't run, and I'm going to try and get back on the bike this week. So not ideal prep for Venice, I'm afraid, but it is what it is. We'll try and work around it, and we'll do the best we can. So that's not great news.
Eventually.
Right, it's time for the main event. I hope you enjoy Brian's story, and we'll see you on the other side.
Ex-wife in Surrey, and then I moved out this way and never been here since.
Sure. Cool. Well, that just gives people an idea of whereabouts you are, so that's good. So it's good to know. And if you just want to go through your background, really, I'm just going to follow it on the email, and tell us a little bit about you growing up as a kid, and then into how you got into triathlon via being a commando, a fireman, a policeman, and everything else.
I've given it all a go, really, but I've gone back to my original roots. So I think ever since I was 6, I wanted to join the Royal Marines. So my granddad took me to a Royal tournament, and they were doing a display there, and it looked really good fun. Then as I grew up, the Falklands happened, and then people thought that would have put you off, but it didn't. It's just made me want to join more.
Yeah.
So getting prepared for Marines, I had to be, interested in fitness and sport. And at school, I played football, rugby, and cricket, and I'm able to sort of turn my hand to most sports really, unless it involves a racket, like contact sports and stuff. So I got myself fit to things, and then when I joined the Marines, I found out I wasn't really that fit. Going through training, they get you fit. It just became part of my life. So really, training became something that I was always interested in. So I got back into playing rugby mainly, and that's because of those exercises. I was away quite a lot, so I missed out. The Marines being fundamentally all about fitness, we'd always do fitness. You do a circuit or you go for a run. Regardless if you were hanging one on a night, you'd still do the phys in the morning. So it's just a routine really. And then, like I say, the rugby became it was my main sport really, sort of growing up into my sort of mid-20s.
Is that what you did at school, a lot, rugby?
Yeah, I played rugby at school. They used to get me playing in lower age groups because I was quite small at school. So they used to get me playing down an age group as well, which was
right.
Yeah, that was rugby union really. So I started off playing rugby union most of the time.
Which is rugby union? Is that?
That's the 15-man code. So the southern version, if you put it that way.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah. Yeah. Leagues, Wigan and St Helens and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's 30-man code, 6 black horse and turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I joined the Marines, and that's 8.5 months of basic training. So you get to like the 4 commando tests. You're getting prepared for that, really. And they involve an endurance course, which is a 2.5 mile man-made tunnels, and then a 4 mile run back to camp where you have to shoot your weapon 10 times and get a certain score, and you have to do it under a certain time. And then the next day you do a 9 mile speed march, which is timed again, which is all carrying weight and your weapon. Mm. And then the day after that you do the Tarzan assault, which is an aerial assault course followed by a normal assault course with a 30-foot wall to finish. And then the day after that it's your 30 miler, which is at the end of that, you get given the green beret if you pass all 4 tests.
Do many fail that then, Brian?
Yeah, so we started with 55 in my troop, and we finished with 12 originals and 10 back troopers.
Right. So
all of them I'm good friends with today. So we're still muckers now, and it's 33 years ago that I joined.
Yeah. So quite a big drop off.
Yeah, massive drop off, and that's still the same now. It's not changed. I think the attrition rate's quite high because a lot of it's to do with injury as well. So, but the process of training's changed quite a lot as everything has. You think about your own training and stuff. It's massively changed.
Yeah.
So during my time in the Marines, I was playing rugby, and then I got drafted to NATO headquarters in London, and I was at work one day, and orders came out, and there was a signal saying, anyone fancy trying bobsleigh? I was like, oh, yeah, I'll give it a go. And I was playing rugby for the unit, and we had, I was playing at home at my old school team. But I thought, oh yeah, I'll give it a go. So they had some trials at Thorpe Park, the back of Thorpe Park. Some old sort of running, like bobsleigh running track, and you had to do like a push start and get under a certain time, and then got through that phase because it was for the Navy, and the Navy never had a team at that point. It was just the Army and the RAF. So we were pretty much like the Jamaican bobsleigh team. We had a borrowed sled and everything like that. So got through that selection, and then because of my size, I'm only 5'7", they said you probably need to go down the driver route. So I went out to what they call Bobscoop in Lillehammer in Norway, and did a 2-week course on how to drive a bobsleigh. And basically what they do is they make you walk up the track, look at the turns and the angles, explain to you how to drive it, and then put you in it and say, off you go. Yeah. And you get pushed off the top. And
how many man bobsleigh was it?
It's 2-man. Yeah.
2-man.
So 2-man bob at the time. But we did have 4-man, but the competition for the British champs and inter services was just 2-man bob. And it was all servicemen pretty much. There was I think there was one person in fire service at the time who bobsleigh'd, but the rest of us were all servicemen. So the inter-service champs were pretty much one in one thing at the time.
Yeah.
So I did that for about 3 years. So we were going to Norway, Austria, Switzerland. We'd go every sort of winter period, train, and then had inter services. And one year I went out there. The GB junior team was short of, but it was a 4-man race, but they were short of someone a certain weight. Mm-hmm. And I just had to fit the right weight at that time because I'd been able to bobsleigh. I pushed the sled in that race. So
yeah, that
was quite good. But the person I originally did the training with, he went on to be, represent Great Britain. He won medals, and I think he's the coach. He's been the coach as well. So
wow, yeah,
it's good stuff.
Who'd have thought that? Eh?
Yeah,
it's amazing it's amazing where life takes you, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was in my local paper and everything because they were like, this doesn't really. It's quite unusual stories, to go from that just to all of a sudden doing bobsleigh for 3 years. Yeah. It was a great sport. I mean,
yeah, I was going to say, what's it like? What does it feel like? Because most people would never get that experience. What does it feel like?
It's kind of like being. Some of the turns are like 4G turns. So you get a lot of pressure on the body and stuff. But and even crashing. I mean, you're going to crash because it's all done on gravity, obviously. Mm-hmm. If you don't hit the lines right, you can hit the top of the thing and it will tip you over, or the crashing is just part of the sport.
Yeah.
Apart from one of my mates who I did crash once, he got an ice burn, but he's never let me forget. 25 years later, he's always reminding me every time I see him, I remember this ice burn you gave me. Yeah, if you can drive, still had ability. I mean, I wasn't the best at it, but I was able to take part and compete. So
yeah,
I really enjoyed that of it. And it gave me something to train for during the summer.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And what an experience, and what, you'd have visited places that if you hadn't have took it up, you'd never have seen probably.
Yeah, and a sport that some people, you never fall in sport really.
Yeah.
Just luck that the Navy was starting a team at the time.
So what happened after that then? Where did you go next?
So I went up to another unit based up in Scotland, and the Sergeant Major up there was really into his rugby league.
Mm-hmm.
So they started a rugby league team for the unit, which I got involved in. And it's kind of rugby league was designed for Marines. You basically pick the ball up, run at someone, or tackle them. So we were running around doing that, and we were beating everybody at the time. And sort of the aggression side of things helped us. So I got into playing that quite a bit, and then once again the Navy had started an inaugural team. I think that was in 2005, and my first game for the Navy was against Great Britain under 23s.
Right.
And I think some of them players now, they went on to play Super League or for Great Britain at that time, but their standard was immense.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience, and I did 3 years for the rugby team there, and then one of the coaches was coaching outside, and I was about to leave because I was getting married. So I went and played for St Albans, and they got into the National League, so it was like a semi-pro setup for about 3-4 years.
Yeah.
I played there for 7 years in total. And then I kept playing rugby league. But as I was living over this way, I got involved in rugby union again. I was playing both codes, and rugby league was playing in the summer back then, so I was playing all year round.
Right.
Which my wife at the time wasn't too happy about. But I played a lot of rugby for those few years. And then I joined the fire service. So going to the fire service again. Fire service is very much about quite about being fit to do your job. Obviously, there's there's not many people running to burning buildings really when everyone's running out. So again, it's a kind of mindset that with me from the Marines really. So I did that, and then really how the cycling and how I got into sort of multisport really is an unfortunate accident with one of the members on one of the other watches. He was in a motorbike accident, and he was a big cyclist. So we did some fundraising for him, and unfortunately for him, he lost both his legs and his wife. And we did a charity event for him, and I didn't have a bike at the time. So because he was the same size as me, he actually just said, use my bike. Right. So I just got on his bike and, trained for a couple of weeks really to do this 100-mile event. And I was hooked after that really, on a borrowed bike. Yeah. So that's really how I got into the cycling side of things. And then, like I said in my email, one of my mates on my watch was an ex-para. So, we'd have quite a lot of competition generally because of the Marines and the paras have got that reputation with each other. Mm-hmm. He said, do you want to try some triathlons, and, try something a bit different? So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. So we went and did a few sprints.
So had you done much swimming before that then? How did that?
I swam as a kid. I swam for the school and stuff like that, but only breaststroke. I'd never done front crawl. I mean, I still don't think I'm a great swimmer now, but I had swam. I wasn't scared of the water. I've got to be able to swim a bit.
Did you take lessons, or did you join a club, or what? Or did you just go out?
I've never joined a club ever. I've always trained on my own. I just didn't, because of the shift work, it's never really fit in, and because there's other people doing it, we've just trained together. The swimming wasn't great. My mate was he's a good swimmer, so I got some tips off him, and then I did go into an endless pool. As I was going through the sort of qualification stuff, and the bloke, I got in the pool, he videoed me, and when I got out the first interview, he said, you can't really swim, can you, mate? I thought I was battling through all right. I was getting through all right, but so he just gave me a load of drills to do, which I did because I'm kind of used to being told what to do, so it was quite nice. So I had these drills to do, and we what did we do? We did about 5 or 6 events, and I didn't even know there were qualifiers at the time.
Right. Had you not heard of age group triathlon at that point?
Not at all. No, we were just racing. I was mainly just trying to beat my mate. I didn't really care about anything. I didn't care where I came as long as I beat him, and likewise. So I just wanted to beat him no matter what. I didn't care. And then he said, "Why don't we pay for this qualification?" Because he knew a bit more about it than me.
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, okay, we'll do it," and we did it, and we did qualify for Vancouver. I think, and it was it might have been 2007 or 2008, something like
that.
But the cost of it at the time, when I was sort of a bit younger in the fire service, was just way out of sort of anything I could achieve. So we just sort of left it there, really. And then again, the next thing was, he's like, "Do you fancy doing a 70.3?" I was like, "Well, what's that involved?" We went, "Well, it's just a bit of a longer one."
Yeah. And so it goes on.
I literally skipped doing any Olympic distance.
Yeah.
I've never done an Olympic distance.
Yeah.
Even to today. And I went straight into 70.3.
Yeah.
And
what's your preferred distance then?
I don't know, actually. I mean, I'd say the 70.3, if I'm honest, at the moment, looking back, but that's not what my coach says at the moment. But I'd say, I thought 70.3 was good. So the first one I ever did without any real training or any coaching, I did in 5:34. So, it's quite reasonable for not even training or knowing what you're doing. But what I did do was absolutely beasted the bike and then died on the run.
Yeah.
Because cycling was sort of my strength, especially coming from rugby. And I literally died on a run. It took me 2 hours to do the half. So that was a learning curve. And then from that point on, he's like, "Well, we've done a half. We might as well do the full distance." So we did the Bolton Ironman, which was the first one that in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was 2011, was it, or something like that? That was a grueling day out, really, because the swim was brutal. The bike was up around the moors and stuff in around Bolton, and that was quite tough. And the run was boring as hell, I found. Yeah. And it was just it was really along that. It was like a canal path where you just couldn't overtake anyone or anything. It's just, I found it tedious. And then, when you cross the line, everyone says you get this really good feeling, and I didn't. I tried to compare it to like passing out in the Marines, and it was nothing the same. I was like, "Well, is that? I've done a year's training for that. Are you serious?" So I booked Nice the next day and said, "Right, I'll do it again next year and see if I get that feeling." And I think Nice is a bit of a tougher course. So, we had to train a bit harder. And in between, we went and did the Marmot, a few cycling events in France, the Dragon Ride. So I was getting the mileage in on the bike because we knew we were going to do some climbing in the Alps.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it more. The swim in Nice is absolutely brutal. You're just fighting to survive for 400 metres.
Yeah.
And, I thought I did a reasonable time in the swim, about 1:13. And then just over 6 hours 15 or something on the bike. And then the run, again, wasn't my strength at the time. I ran, 4:40 or something. So, but, I was still pleased I'd done that event. And then again, that was it. I was concentrating on my career again, really. And I just thought, right, I'll drop the running and the swimming, and I'll just cycle. And I just got into cycling to, create to get up to the Cat 3s, but then in a weird way I don't really like cyclists or cycling in that environment, because I just find it a bit odd at times, compared to from the environments I've come from. It's just a bit odd. But I did it. I didn't mind the battles.
Odd in what sense?
Like I'd do the crit races, and whereas I wasn't interested in bunch sprinting. I was interested in jumping to the front and seeing if anyone come with me, and just putting people in the locker, because I kind of like don't mind hurting myself in training. So I thought I would do that in a race. But people will come up to me in a race and say, "Why are you doing that for?" "We want to do a bunch sprint." I went, "Mate, is it a bike race?" And they're like, "Well, yeah." I said, "Well, okay then. See ya." And I'll just do it again and again.
Yeah.
And I'd never win it. I'd have pure enjoyment of just like kind of annoying people in a way.
Yeah, I get it.
But it's just about learning. It's about learning the craft, isn't it? Being able to do being able to cycle in a group safely, and I thought bike racing was about, but you just got to find the right events for you, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, crit racing's a completely, it's a different style, isn't it? I mean, there's lots of different styles of cycling, as you know, and crit's one of them, and it's its own beast, I guess.
So I kind of just lost the love of that bit, and I was still playing rugby again, and because I'd been out of the Marines, I joined the Royal Marine Reserves, so that took up some of my time. But again, the rugby came to the forefront again, so I started playing rugby for the Navy vets, and then my local club in Guildford, and then I ended up playing for the county vets as well. So I was playing a hell of a lot of rugby.
Yeah.
But I was still cycling and running because I once you got the bug for them again, because it's easy to lose a running bug. But I got it back and it got stuck into it again, and did it so much that I again plan, and the Royal Marines decided iron to steel, which was open water, swim in the sea down in Devon, fall of Ben Nevis, and then a mountain sort of a coastal marathon. So it was about a 15-hour day out in the end because the swim was ridiculous. We stopped pitch black with the glow sticks on you.
Yeah.
So the sea state wasn't great. And then the bike was just monotonous, and felt like I was climbing all day long. And then the mountain sort of marathon, you can't run that. You got to run them all. It's just some of them hills are extreme. And so so I got back into that, and then I was enjoying the running so much. I was like, do you know what? I'll just crack an ultra, like you do, So I did a 60k ultra, and then my friend's one of my friend's wife was sort of doing some running, and she said, she wants to do a marathon. So I talked her into doing the marathon part of the Ironman there, which she did. And then I talked her into an ultra last, and she said, I'll just do a marathon. I think that's all right. I'll do a 50k. I was like, nah. I said, you might as well you've done a marathon, you might as well do 100k. So I took 100k out ultra. So we ran out running. She became a running partner. We trained for that. We done the ultra. We did it in a 12 hours 50. Quite a hilly course, local to me, Hazelmere, which is a good course. Yeah, but I really enjoyed the ultra, and then coming off that, I'd sort of done 20 years in the fire service now, and it was due to the pension sort of changes. I was in a bit of a pension trap, so I decided to give the police a go because I had a bit of a itch to scratch with it. So I joined the police, and then shift work there is just horrendous. It just, worse than the fire service. You cannot catch up on sleep or anything, and it puts you all out of rhythm. But so that's why I decided to drop down the distances and have a go at the triathlon because it's my work routine really.
Yeah.
And one of the girls on my team, she's been in GB age group for quite a while. Claire Lowe, and she was doing it, and she sort of said, why don't you give it a go? So the qualification. So I just put in the qualification last year, trained myself for it. I qualified on a drop down, but I was pleased with how I qualified. I did some good times. So after that, I was like, right, well, I've got to this stage now. I've trained my whole life on my own. I've got a diploma in personal training sports therapy that I did when I left the Marines because you get something, a job to get into Civvy Street with. So I did that. So I've always had a background in it. And I've like my mate's wife to sort of get through the ultra, and I've coached rugby league, I've coached rugby union, I've coached my oldest son and stuff. But I thought, do you know what? I'm going to reach out to some coaches and see if I'm training right, and two, if there's any other way I can do it. So like I've emailed you, I emailed the coach that I'm with now, and his first thing was, okay, I'll looking at your profile, I can imagine that you just thrash yourself, all the time. You're hitting it hard all the time.
Because that's what you used to.
Days. And I don't have rest days. I really don't rest day. I haven't had rest day now for 33 days.
Yeah.
But because I like to, my rest day is just a low impact day, or I'll go for a gentle swim. As long as I'm doing something, I think because I think it's good for your mental health. But, I'm not hitting it hard now. So my coach has changed my program. I think I'm cycling stronger, and my cycling is my strength anyway.
Yeah.
I'm running less, but I'm running better. My times are not dropping; they're staying the same or increasing. And I'm back in the pool and love it. I love swimming at the moment. It's become it's definitely my favourite at the moment to do because of having a coached program and not having to worry about that and going in and just doing your session is unreal. And my swimming has improved so much in the last 3 months. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, everybody you speak to on the pod say that get a coach. I'm not coach myself. I've never had like a proper coach. I've always been self-coached, but everybody says it just takes you to another level.
My coach is now saying the ideal distance for me really is sprint or Olympic. So, the realisation of what a coach can do for you, I think really after all this time, I turned 50 last year. I think that category is quite a tough category anyway.
Yeah.
I think that the last qualifier, every man and his dog turned up to try and qualify. So, I think a good tip there is to try and do as many qualifications as you can.
Yeah, I think, I was discussing this last night with a few of my teammates, and we've all qualified for the Europeans over in Italy in March, and we literally last minute put our tenors in and went to Dallimore, and but we sort of like knew that a lot of people were already racing elsewhere, so they wouldn't turn up. But it's about having that knowledge and the awareness.
Tactical, wouldn't you? You've got to be tactical about it.
Yeah, you do. Especially if you're not one of the top, and you usually I usually qualify, to be honest, on a roll down. Because I'm not, nowhere near as fast as these top guys. So you just do what you can and use what you've got, don't you?
Yeah, I think, sometimes it's a little bit like with the drafting as well now. I'm getting wise now because the last race I did quite a lot of work on the bike.
Yeah.
I'm quite nifty up the hill, so I'd lift up the front and try and get a breakaway like I did before in the crits. Yeah. But people don't want to play, they save the run and they just cream me on the run.
Yeah.
So you just got to box clever and, use your strengths when you can.
100%. 100%. So how did the whole getting a coach come about? Who have you gone for and how did you use that? How did you get that process ironed out?
I looked at a couple of options and then someone else I know, I think they'd used them before, and I went with Total Training.
Okay.
And they pair you up with a coach, sort of similar background and mentality, I guess. Yeah. And my coach, Jimmy, is he's on my wavelength, so he knows he's quite happy to. I'm not thrashing myself every day anymore. Like I'm not going hard all the time. I'm working in the LT1 sort of area and LT2, and I'm building up from underneath because my top end power's all right. I'm not quite a good sprinter on the bike, but my running improved massively before the coach. I PB'd at 5K last year.
That's good.
So I want to just keep improving that really and see if I can get that, because the top boys are a minute quicker, aren't they?
Oh, easy, yeah. I mean, I had an injury last year and come off my bike, and to try and get back has just been, the older you get, the harder it is. And to try and get back to any speed is just, I'm like 2 minutes off where I was. It's it's murder. Yeah.
And then another thing was, coming out of the police and not having to work nights anymore. My job role now is really much more suited. And plus, I'm back in the Marines sort of thing. My mentality again has changed. Yeah. I'm back in that sort of Marine mentality. So, for me, my focus is phys, and I'm quite selfish with it, with my family, regarding my family. So I'm away on an 8-week course at the moment, and I'm only home weekends. 3 days after this course finishes, I'm going to Lanzarote on a training camp. And then a month later we're in Ibiza. And then there's a couple of weekends of training camps coming up because the Navy have got a team and the Marines got a team, and I sort of asked to get involved in that as well. And I'm pretty selfish with my training, I've got to admit. But it's not. I don't think I had too much detriment to the family because I don't go out boozing. I'm not.
There's worse things in life, isn't there?
Yeah, what I was doing when I was 20. I was out boozing and doing it. But now I'm just doing the training, and I still play in rugby because I love the sport and I love the teamwork side of it. And I wanted to play with my eldest son, so we played 3 seasons together, and now he's up in Manchester at university. So I wanted to achieve that. So the rugby's dropped off a bit, but I'm still playing. As long as it doesn't interfere with my training and I'm not getting injured, then, I'll probably I'm going to play one more game this season and then that'll be it.
Yeah. So you've qualified for Ibiza?
Qualified for Ibiza. I wasn't too bothered about where the race was. I just wanted to see if I could qualify, I think.
Yeah.
And then once I achieved that aim and got on board with the coach, and now it's given me, I'm already looking at qualification stuff for next year now, because I think I'm going to try both distances, the sprint and the Olympic try, and see what happens there. See if my swimming's improved enough to get me qualified first of all.
Yeah.
If not, I'll maybe try another duathlon. But I actually really enjoyed it. Duathlons, funny enough, it's quite, it puts you in the hurt locker quite quickly. So quite enjoy it.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think the harder than triathlons, because you've got the two runs.
You don't realise how hard it is.
No, I don't. People,
no matter what anyone says, that first run, you're going to beast yourself, aren't you? You're going. You
have to.
Yeah.
You've got no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So you lined up. Have you lined up any races for this year then? Have you chosen?
I'm doing Eton in May.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the Navy's calendar's come out, so I've got to do, if I want to do into service stuff, I've got to race some of them, and they've asked me to do 70.3, but I'll chat to the coach about that. I fancy Cardiff. It looks well organised.
Yeah, I've done it. It was a really well organised try.
Yeah.
Not too bad a swim, flat and fast in the marina, and that was good. And the run's like an out and back, and it was like you say, it was well organised.
I mean, my coach is going to Lanzarote as well, so I'll have a proper sit down then and see where we are with the training, because I'll be 6 months in with him then, and he'll have a week with me away, so we can sort of look at some, if I've got any technical issues with the swim and stuff, to see where we are with that. But my swimming definitely improved. I mean, I feel so much better in the water. It's like, it's really weird. I plan my holidays where I can take a surfboard, my bike, and my running shoes.
Yeah, sounds idyllic.
doesn't please the family too much when I'm out on a 3-hour ride when I'm on holiday. But
well, they'll be old enough to get involved shortly, I'm sure.
Looking at my nutrition at the moment, because something I've never looked at. On all my Ironmans, I've taken real food. I've never with gels from. And their gels seem to work at the moment with me, because they are actually a jelly, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give them a go and see what difference that makes, because I don't eat enough, I don't think, for the training I do.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, they get that nailed, because it'll have a detriment otherwise.
Yeah.
So cool. So that brings us up to date then. What you've got planned?
Pretty much.
We'll move on to the quickfire questions I always ask people at the end of the show. You've listened to it, so you probably know what to expect. The first one's, what's your favourite bit of kit?
My favourite bit of kit at the moment is my waterproof headphones. I use them when I'm swimming. I love them. It makes the swimming session so much better.
Cool. And what brand are those for people out there that are interested?
Aftershocks.
Oh, my wife's got a pair of the running ones.
Yeah, they're great for the floor. I love them.
Yeah, cool.
Really.
I've never had that answer before, so that's a first. Yeah. Underwater music.
Yeah,
never tried it myself. Might entice me back into the pool.
Yeah, I find it a nice distraction, if I'm honest. I've got my sessions on my watch, just do what the watch tells me, and that just distracts me from, in some pools, people don't have any idea of what they're doing, and they're just getting in the way with those on, and just something else not to worry about.
Yeah, cool. What advice would you give for anybody wanting to get into triathlon?
I think just do it. I mean, it's great to have the ability to just 2-3 all work with each other and counterbalance each other anyway. And it gives you a lot of variety, and it's quite fun. And to be fair, the triathlon community is, because I've been into cycling, rugby, and some of the other things like that, and even the ultras, triathlon community is pretty friendly, and everyone's happy to give you advice, or give you some tips and pointers, and it's good. It's a good environment to be in.
Cool. And what resources do you use, like books or videos or?
Yeah, I do a lot of I'll do what most people do, I suppose. Go on YouTube, have a look around. I've got my training peaks. Obviously, my coach goes through training peaks.
Yeah.
Zwift.
Yeah.
Is it a no-brainer? I think nowadays, especially with the way traffic is and stuff, and the weather, and the training on there is, I think, definitely. I didn't last year. I didn't ride outside all winter, and it didn't make any difference to my riding outside. So
no,
yeah,
I think you would, like I always say that you do workouts on Zwift that you would never do outside.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And you don't have that stop-start or traffic. Or if I go out now, mainly in the winter, I'll just take my gravel bike out because it's so much fun. I didn't think it'd be as much fun as it is, and I love being on that. It's just a fun day out. So
yeah. And again, it's all training, isn't it? So
yeah.
So what YouTube's channels are you into? Would you recommend anything off the top of your head?
GTN is pretty good for stuff.
Yeah.
And total try training. Actually, they do some good stuff on their YouTube channel, because we get guest speakers come in sometimes and do some stuff, and there's some really good stuff on there actually.
Cool. Well, we'll look out for those ones. And finally, then, what's your short-term and your long-term goals?
It's just the short-term's the world's really, just to see, where I am amongst, other peers really, just see what the level's like, the competition, and being there for the first time anyway. So I think that'll just be the short-term, and then long-term, strengths are going to be and what races I should really target next year, because I think now once you get into the GB sort of stuff, then your target is to, I think, try and stay in amongst that, because the competition's better. So I think that's going to be a long-term goal.
Cool. And staying at sprint and Olympic distance.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably do another 70.3, because I think that's still an ideal sort of race. You can race that, where Ironman becomes a bit more of a challenge and you have to give up a bit more time again. But whereas I think that 70.3 is only a little bit more training than the Olympic is really. So, the swim's not much longer, is it? Yeah, I think I'll still try and get another 70.3 in at least one or two. Cool.
Well, the best of luck with it. I think that's a great place to land it. Thank you ever so much for taking your time out.
Keep up the good work, Rich. I think, there's some good podcasts out there, How They Train is bloody brilliant. I mean, he's a great bloke anyway, and he has some great guests on there. Joe Skipper's becoming a bit of a favourite of his at the moment, but I think he's trying to get Alistair Brownlee on at the moment. But that's a great podcast.
Cool.
Like yours, it's something I always I save it for the car, because I can't concentrate when I'm cycling, and not get into it. So it's a great one to have on journeys as well. So keep up the good work, mate. And hopefully you'll get some
very much
more people come into you and telling you their stories.
Yeah, and if you've got anybody that would have a great story to come on, just share it and just tell people about the podcast, because the more people know about it, the more guests we get on, the more listens and stuff. So it's like a snowball effect, and it helps us.
Okay, mate, brilliant.
All right, mate.
Yeah, no worries, brilliant. Thanks,
all right, take care. Cheers.
See you, mate. See you, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Well, I don't think that ended up too bad, considering the technical issues that we had to deal with through the podcast. I think we've edited it as best we can. Some sound issues, but I hope you enjoy it all the same. Fascinating story, like I said at the beginning of the episode. What a career Brian's had, and continues to do so. And if you're racing in any of the races, look out for him. Go and say hello. And his Instagram handle is @Stokesy72. So follow him on Instagram and catch up with his efforts over this season. I know I will be following him, like I follow everybody else who's been on the podcast, and as many age groupers and triathletes as I can. So thank you once again for listening. Thanks for your feedback. By the way, I just had a really nice email come in this morning from a age grouper called Andrew Martin, and Andrew had been listening to our podcasts, and he was compelled to write in and he just said he'd like to congratulate us on a fantastic podcast, and he found it refreshing to listen to many age group inspirations. So thank you for that, Andrew. And we are going to get Andrew on the podcast because obviously he's an age grouper, and I took the opportunity to ask him would he be interested in coming on the podcast and sharing his story and inspiring other people. So hopefully we'll get Andrew on and we'll get that arranged. And if you'd like to come on, drop us an email or DM us at Facebook or Instagram, and we'll sort something out. Usually all I ask for is a little bit of sporting background history, and then we set up a time and a day, and we have a chat, usually over Zoom. So yeah, if you're interested or you know anybody that would be really cool to get on, give them the heads up and get them on the podcast. So like I said, you can get in touch by email at the Age Group Multisport Podcast at gmail.com, just like Andrew Martin did. You can follow us on Instagram and DM us on Instagram at amp_1967. We're also on Facebook at AmpGB. You can Twitter us, and we are on Twitter at Age Group Multisport Podcast. We have our own YouTube site, which is AmpGB, and quite a few of the podcasts are on there. Not so much of the new ones. I haven't put those up due to it being quite time consuming, and I just haven't had the time. And to be honest, looking at the statistics, not many people are listening on YouTube anyway, so that was another reason. And if you want to listen to any of the other podcasts, we have our own website, which is the Age Group Multisport Podcast.buzzsprout.com, and they're all on there. Alternatively, you go to your preferred podcast platform and you can listen to them on there. So yeah, so thank you again for listening, and don't forget to leave us a review, a message, subscribe to our channels, because that really does help, and as does the reviews, and we'd be most grateful. So till next time, stay safe, keep training, and love the process.